All right, so picture this. You're sprinting for the bus, heart's pounding, probably a bit sweaty.
Yeah, or maybe you've been hitting the book so hard you forgot to eat and you're feeling a bit lightheaded.
Exactly. And what's amazing is your body, it's got these systems, these incredible systems, working behind the scenes to keep everything running smoothly.
It really is remarkable, isn't it? I mean, think about it. All that chaos, the running, the maybe empty stomach, but your insides, they're fighting to stay balanced.
And that, my friend, is what we're diving into today, this idea of keeping things stable. It's called homeostasis.
Homeostasis, yeah. It sounds a bit complicated, but it's this fundamental principle in biology and definitely something worth understanding, especially for GCSE.
Couldn't agree more. So homeostasis, it's like, imagine your body has this super sophisticated control center, always making sure everything's just right for your cells, the tiny building blocks that make up you, to work properly.
Yeah, it's like a thermostat, but for your entire body. Keeps your internal temperature steady, whether you're out in the British winter or sweating it out in a summer heat wave.
So let's break it down. What are these things our bodies work so hard to keep in check?
Well, at the cellular level, there are a few key conditions that need to stay within a very specific range. If they don't, well, things can go wrong.
Okay, so for example, blood glucose levels. That's something that comes up a lot in GCSE biology, right? Why is it so important to keep the amount of sugar in our blood just right?
Right, well, glucose, it's like the primary fuel for your cells. Think of it like petrol for a car. Too much, and it can cause damage over time. Too little, and your cells just don't have the energy to function properly. And that's where your pancreas steps in.
The pancreas, always playing a crucial role. How does it manage this balancing act?
So your pancreas produces two key hormones, insulin and glucagon. Now, when your blood glucose levels rise, let's say after you've had a sugary treat, the pancreas releases insulin.
Right, insulin. And what does insulin do exactly?
Insulin's like a key that unlocks the door to your cells, allowing glucose to move from the bloodstream into the cells, where it can be used for energy. Insulin also signals to your liver to store excess glucose as glycogen, like a little energy reserve.
So insulin's the lower blood sugar hormone. Got it.
Yeah.
What about when blood sugar levels drop too low, like if you miss a meal?
Well, that's where glucagon comes into play. When your blood glucose drops, the pancreas releases glucagon. Glucagon acts on the liver, telling it to break down that stored glycogen back into glucose and release it into the bloodstream.
It's fascinating, isn't it? This constant back and forth, keeping things in balance. And this is actually what goes wrong in conditions like type 1 and type 2 diabetes, where this balancing act gets disrupted, showing just how important this automatic control of blood glucose is.
Precisely. And while we won't delve into the specifics of diabetes now, it does highlight what happens when the body's ability to maintain internal stability fails.
Absolutely. Okay, so blood sugar is one big thing our body keeps a close eye on. What else?
Well, temperature, for sure. It's vital to keep your core body temperature stable.
Yeah, I definitely felt that after my mad dash for the bus.
Well, a major reason for this is the effect temperature has on enzymes. Remember, enzymes are these incredible biological catalysts that speed up all the chemical reactions happening inside you.
Oh yeah, enzymes. We learned about them in biology. They have an optimal temperature where they work best, right?
You've got it. If your temperature gets too high or too low, these enzymes can't function as efficiently. It's like baking a cake. You need the oven at the right temperature.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So how does our body actually regulate temperature?
Well, the control center for all of this is a part of your brain called the hypothalamus. Specifically, an area in the hypothalamus called the thermoregulatory center. It's basically the thermostat of your body.
The hypothalamus, always with the complicated names.
Huh.
So how does it know if we're too hot or too cold?
It receives information from temperature receptors located throughout your body. You've got receptors in your skin that detect external temperature changes.
So like when it's freezing outside, those receptors send a signal to the hypothalamus.
Exactly. And the hypothalamus also has receptors that monitor your internal temperature, the temperature of your blood. It's getting information from both inside and out.
So let's say the hypothalamus gets the message that we're overheating, like after a run. What happens then?
It triggers responses to cool you down. One key way is vasodilation. This is where the blood vessels near the surface of your skin widen, increasing blood flow to the skin and allowing heat to escape.
Right, so more blood flows near the surface and heat radiates out.
Exactly. You might also start sweating, and as that sweat evaporates, it takes heat away from your body.
So that flushed, sweaty feeling is actually our body trying to cool down.
Clever. What about when we're cold?
When you're cold, the opposite happens. The hypothalamus triggers vasoconstriction, where those blood vessels near the skin narrow, reducing blood flow and conserving heat.
So less blood flow to the surface means less heat loss. Makes sense.
And you might also start shivering. Those rapid muscle contractions generate heat to warm you up. It's amazing how all these things happen without us even thinking about it. You mentioned water levels earlier, too. Is that another thing our body carefully regulates?
Absolutely. Maintaining the right water balance is crucial. The concentration of water in your body affects everything from how substances move in and out of cells to blood pressure.
So how do we keep our water levels balanced?
Your kidneys play a vital role in this, filtering your blood and regulating water levels. And there's a hormone called antidiuretic hormone, or ADH, which helps control how much water your kidneys reabsorb back into the bloodstream.
Okay, so we've got blood sugar, temperature, and water levels. All things our body works hard to keep in balance. But how does it actually know what's going on and what to do to fix things?
Well, it all starts with stimuli. Stimuli are simply changes in your environment. It could be an internal change, like your blood sugar rising after a meal, or an external change, like a drop in temperature.
Right, so something changes and the body needs to respond. How does it detect these changes in the first place?
That's the job of receptors. Receptors are like sensors, specialized cells, or organs that detect specific stimuli. For example, we talked about the blood glucose receptors in the pancreas and the temperature receptors in your skin and hypothalamus. They're like the body's alarm system.
Okay, so the receptors detect a change, the alarm bells go off. What happens next?
The receptors send a signal to a coordination center, which could be the brain, the spinal cord, or for blood sugar, the pancreas itself. These centers process the information from the receptors and decide what needs to be done.
So the coordination center is like the control room, figuring out the best course of action.
Exactly. And once the coordination center has a plan, it sends signals to effectors. Effectors are the muscles or glands that actually carry out the response to bring things back to normal.
Right, so the effectors are the ones doing actual work, like making you shiver or sweat.
Precisely. For blood glucose, the liver is a key effector, storing or releasing glucose based on instructions from the pancreas. It's all a beautifully coordinated system.
You mentioned this term negative feedback earlier. What exactly is negative feedback?
Negative feedback is fundamental to homeostasis. It's a system that reverses a change, bringing things back to that stable, normal state. Think about blood sugar again. If blood sugar rises, insulin is released to lower it. Once blood sugar is back to normal, insulin release stops. The initial change has been reversed.
Ah, I see. So it's like a thermostat that turns off the heating once the room reaches the desired temperature, preventing it from getting too hot.
Exactly. Same principle applies to body temperature. You get too cold, your body shivers to warm you up. Once your temperature is back to normal, the shivering stops. It's all about maintaining that balance.
Now, this idea of keeping things balanced, it's not just a human thing, is it? I remember learning about how plants respond to their environment, too.
You're absolutely right. The need to maintain stable internal conditions is universal in living things. Plants, for instance, they exhibit phototropism, where their shoots grow towards light, maximizing their ability to photosynthesize.
And geotropism, where roots grow downwards.
Yeah, that's it. Geotropism ensures roots grow towards gravity, anchoring the plant and helping it access water. These are brilliant examples of plants actively maintaining optimal conditions for growth.
And plants even have their own versions of hormones, like those involved in ripening fruit or helping seeds germinate.
Exactly. Plant hormones act as chemical messengers, coordinating responses to internal and external changes, helping the plant maintain balance and thrive.
And even something like our eyes have mechanisms to maintain optimal conditions. Like think about how the lens in your eye changes shape to keep things in focus, whether they're near or far.
That's right, accommodation it's called. It's your eye ensuring a clear image is formed on your retina despite changes in the distance of the object you're looking at. It's all about maintaining that optimal condition for clear vision.
So homeostasis, it's not just a concept in a biology textbook. It's this fundamental principle woven into the very fabric of life, keeping everything in balance, from the tiniest cells to the whole organism.
And for anyone studying GCSE biology, understanding homeostasis is crucial. It pops up in so many different topics, so it's definitely worth getting a good grasp of it now.
Absolutely. Now here's something to ponder. Think about what happens when you exercise. Your breathing gets faster, your heart rate increases. What do you think happens to bring your body back to its resting state afterwards? Another great example of your body striving for that balance.
It's a great question to consider, and it highlights how homeostasis is constantly at work, even when we're pushing our bodies.
Well, that's been a fascinating look into the world of homeostasis. I hope you've all enjoyed this deep dive as much as I have. Until next time.